Hey guys, this is Tom Box. Welcome to MST.TV. I got a very special guest with us here today and a build that you guys have been asking for, and I was actually really surprised to see this, but let's first of all give a warm welcome to Chansey Squiddy Wiggle Stove.
Hello.
Are you known to be a troll on the internet, you know? Because you're a pretty well-known
I was
guy.
back in my day, but I mean, I don't know. I think I gotta carry the troll tradition, so I'm back.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, you always seem to play at large events and you tend to do really well. You have multiple YCS's top now. But today we're looking at your build of Pure Zoo. You finished with a record of 9-2-0 and bubbled.
Oh yeah, it's so heartbreaking. I couldn't believe it. There's so many big names that missed the top cut. I think I was looking at, like, there's a Salah, like Ryan, Levine, Ryan.
Oh my!
Everyone. These big names that just missed the cutoff by that much. And I think one of my tiebreakers actually topped. But the other one was my friend Julian, and what happened was his internet cut out on day 2, so he was 7-1 with Lair of Darkness, and then his internet cut out, so he got match loss, so he couldn't play, and it was just like, oop, there goes my tiebreakers.
Oh man, that sucks. That's like something that would not happen in real life, so, you know, Konami, bring back real life events, please. Soon. Now, before we continue, I'm going to give the floor to you to give all the shoutouts that you want, because the floor is yours.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. I mean, honestly, shout out. I know I had to give my friend Andrew a shout out. I bought his Cyclone Raiders. I didn't end up playing them, but I think they were lucky. So shout out to him. Huge shout out, honestly, to the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I was surprised, like, the remote duels. This is my first time back. It's been, like, I think 3 or 4 years since I really played super competitively, and everyone was super nice. You know, they're chill. It was a good time, and yeah, it was good. It was great. What else? Shout out to YugiTube. I'm trying to start back up again, make some funny troll videos or whatnot. You can catch me at youtube.com/squiddies with an S on the end. And I think that's really about it. And huge shout out, of course, to Tom Box for having me here today.
Oh, anytime. You're always welcome here. So go, guys, do me a favor. Go to his channel and hit the subscribe button.
And shout out to Team Purple Haze, of course. How could I forget? My Italian squad brethren who are getting me back into the game.
Yeah, I was like kind of surprised to see you there. I'm like, you didn't play in any extravaganza. You actually come in and out of, like, a lot of the channels just to, like, spectate.
Yeah, I was at work, you know. I was like, you know, pop this on the monitor. I'll watch some Yu-Gi-Oh! Why not? I can't play right now, but I can watch.
Yeah, so yeah, that's why I was like, you know, I see you around all the time. But anyways, all right, with the shout-outs out of the way, I got a couple of questions. First of all, you know, the first question I asked you earlier, why did you play Pure Zoo? There's no Drident.
Pure Zoo.
There is no Tri-Brigade. Pure Zoo. Okay.
It's a funny story. What happened was when I got back into the game, that was last format, Pure Zoo was good in OCG. It was not good here, but I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe it's good in Japan. You know, like, in the past, we've tried things that have been good over there, and it's been good here, like Dragonized Mermail, for example. So I was like, oh, I'll just buy the cards. And as I bought the cards, because we live in Canada, you know how long it takes sometimes. So I bought them, you know, a month ago. And then all of a sudden, the week that it came, Dryden got banned. So I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But the only other deck I have is Sky Striker, and that deck just goes into time every time. So I'm just like, you know what, I'll try Pure Zoo. I tried playing it Go Second with, like, Ego Boosters and, like, Engages and stuff, just to protect Zeus, but it wasn't there. And then I realized, you know what, these traps are actually really good. Zoo, they have, like, the advantage of being not weak to any hand trap. Like, realistically, there's no hand trap that really hurts them. A lot of decks are playing, like, 10+ hand traps right now. And, you know, just having, like, this one card engine, basically there's no real brick in the deck. Like, I have monsters, all these traps, all these spells, they're super powerful. And I just summon a guy, I simplify the board state with a bunch of hand traps, summon a Zeus, and that's usually game against a lot of decks. And of course you can play the Degenerate Trinity, I say, Imperial Order, Macro, and Beefisher, which I don't think a lot of the other decks can play, so.
I did not expect that in your deck list. I'm going to ask you a few more questions about how those interactions work, like, on some of these matches that you might have had. Aside from that, you guys can already see the main deck. We'll go into the extra deck and side deck after we finish the main deck. And, you know, guys, you should really stick around for, like, the round to round, because the round to round is where you get into the really juicy bits of how certain boards come up and how you can play around it or how it will kill you. These are the details that make you a better player, so I highly recommend you guys to stick around. But if you guys are only here for a deck list, well, you guys can stay, maybe skim around. It's all up to you. Now, I have my I guess my next question is, well, you kind of already answered this, but how big brain do you have to be to pilot something like this? I mean, this is not, like, super combo heavy. In other words, it's a control deck. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the key things that you're looking for when you're piloting this? Like,
You know, surprisingly, I thought it looks like it's super like Helmet, right? Like you just summon a guy, set floodgates, but actually there's a lot of thinking involved. You have to sort of find a way to control the game in the way that best makes your chances of, I guess, winning. It's obvious, but like the orders that you use your hand traps, what zoo you summon, like you have to play around a lot of things. Sometimes you make Zeus to play around the Biru, you make them with 2 or 3 materials. There's just a lot of all of my games, I think, in the tournament were super tight because of the way that this deck, you have to play super, super tight. One small misstep, and that can cost you the entire game because control just slips from you, right? So it is actually quite hard. You have to know which monsters to search, which monsters to have, and there's a lot of sequencing involved in that sense that you're reacting to your opponent as opposed to, you know, playing like a combo like Drytron where you're just like thinking like what to do next, but you're really just reacting off of your opponent with this deck, I think, which is interesting.
All right. Okay. And well, why don't we just kick it off with the profile here? Take it away. It's all yours.
Sure. So 3 Ram. This card is like your turn 1 play now. Previously, you summon the Dryden, right? But now you want to get Ram in the graveyard. So like if you go 10 key to Rat, you send the Ram, or you can Thoroughblade a Ram. You make Check-a-Nine, and then you summon back the Ram. And then you just overlay Vespinato instead of Dryden. So he's a new Dryden. So really what happens is here, all of a sudden you have technically 4 monsters, because what Ram does is when it's destroyed, you get a zoo back. When Vespinato dies, you get a zoo back. So technically your opponent has to clear your board, and it's really hard for them to do that this format when you have a bunch of hand traps, because a lot of the decks are just stopped in their tracks by the hand traps, right? So a lot of times it makes it hard for your opponent. After you hand trap them like 2 or 3 times, it makes it hard for them to kill those monsters. And when those monsters stay on your board, you get that board presence. So it's easier to make Zeus and easier to push for damage. So that's where Ram is super handy. It also has the effect to negate traps, obviously, which comes up. There are a lot of traps like the Virtual World Trap Chuche, I think, you can negate. It also doesn't have to be activation. You can negate like an effect already on the field. So very interesting.
Very useful.
Yeah, it's very, very useful. There's a Rat here. Obviously, you still play it because with 10 key, you want to search Rat. This is great because when you summon a Rat this format, people don't think you're playing Fear Zoo. They think you're playing Tri-Brigade, right? So what are they going to do when they have hand traps? They're going to hand trap it on Rat. They're going to waste an Ash. Like, you know, they waste an Ash, and then you play Pot of Desires. Like, they're going to waste their hand trap on this Rat, which is great for you because they just lost a card and you lost nothing. So it's a very good card. Good. And then 3 Thoroughblade, you know, same thing. This card is really relevant because 1600 attack, it's your biggest attack, and that's very, very relevant. You want to get this engraved as soon as possible because when you have a Zeus on board, that's 3k, and you can summon a Zoo, make Check-a-Nine, revive Thoroughblade, and then overlay Vespinal, and that's 7100, right? So you want to, with this deck, you want to end the game as fast as you can after you take control of it, because the more turns you give your opponent, the more like chances they can come back and, you know, draw Twin Fisters or something and just OTK you. So Thoroughblade is really relevant. You can also stack multiple of them to like beat over something like Ultimate Falcon with a Whiptail. And you want to keep this in hand as well. Same with Whiptail, Thoroughblade, Whiptail, like big attack monsters, you keep them in hand because right now effect failure sometimes kind of hurts you. Previously at Dryden, you can pop a monster on the field with Dryden, but now, like, because there's no Dryden, if you go to Borbo and they Baylor, sometimes you can't attack like direct, you can't attack over anything. But then just having like a big attack, if they Baylor the Borbo, you can overlay something else and then just swing over like a weaker monster on their field. Same thing with Whiptail, you know, DD Warrior Lady, it's great, comes up.
Okay. Now you got a bunch of hand traps here. This is a very interesting line, very solid line, I would have to say. 1 DD Crow.
I know people are going to laugh at me in the comments because the 1D random DD Crow. But the reason for 1 is because I wanted to play 3 DD Crow in my list, and there was no way. I wanted to play 3 DD Crow in my recipe, and I just had to chuck 1 in there. You see it's 44 cards in the main, which is probably not correct, but hey, we went with it, and DD Crow's great because it has so much crossover. It's basically good against every matchup except for Tri-Brigade, unless they go like Kiras, dump Nerval, or like Twin Twister, dump Nerval. But it's very good. Drytron, Ben 10, you know. Let's see, 3 Phantasme. The reason I made this is because it's also very, very good against every deck, except for probably Virtual World, but that's right. Even against Drytron, they make like Link Karibo. Sometimes when they play the Drytron Nova, so it comes up. Number 1, it fixes your hand, because this hand, the only time you break is when you don't see a Zoo monster. So this allows you to draw 2 cards, right? You see Zoo monsters, you sculpt your hand, and it puts pressure on the board because you get 2400. So that's 2400 damage. It has the effect that negates But yeah, really against Tri-Brigade, you can draw 3 cards, because if they go for the normal full combo play, you wait until they summon the second link, and then you summon this, you draw 3 cards, put back 2. So very powerful. Same thing with Ash, generic, you know, everyone knows Ash is great. Phantasmic can draw into these as well. Ghost Spell, it's also very good against a lot of decks, I think. Even Dratron, you can stop effects on the grave. You stop the trap card for Tri-Brigade, obviously, Revolt, and it can be used in damage step, which is kind of cool. Baylor, also generic, but very good against all the decks. I think against Dratron, it actually is decent as well. It's good against Tri-Brigade. And I was like, yeah, it's not once per turn either. That's the thing with these older hand traps, right? So you just chuck a couple of them.
All right. Sounds pretty good. Now we're into your spell lineup. Yeah, I do have a question for one of the cards, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, generic. Yeah, Barrage, the broken extender. 3 tanky still busted card. 100 damage is relevant. And then 3 Cosmic Cyclone.
This is the one I want to ask you about. Why did you main the Cyclones? I mean, yeah.
That's a great question. So previously, last format, purely people were playing Chalice, because, you know, there are a lot of Tri-Brigade, a lot of monster effects that sort of interacted on your turn. But I find with this format, it's a lot less of that. It's mostly like, there are a lot more spell and trap decks, especially like Sky Striker. Like Cosmic really comes in handy. And then during the Tri-Brigade matchup, this is still kind of pseudo-Chalice, because if they just have the 1 Revolt set, you can Cosmic it, and that forces them to chain it. So that kind of like Shurag doesn't get the effect. So it kind of like does what Chalice does in a sense. And it's also like, it's decent against Drytron. You can hit the field spell, you can hit the ritual spell. It's like it's a good card against a lot of matchups. It's good interaction, offensive and defensive. So
okay,
yeah, just check them in there. Pot of Desire is probably the best card in this deck. Like, you have to play 3. You can resolve 3 in a game. Like this card is just Pot of Greed in this deck, because you don't care what you banish. As long as you have a monster, you can play, right?
Okay.
So busted card. Monster Reborn, same thing with Barrage, the extender, busted.
Okay, here's the fun stuff. You have D-Fissure, Macrocosmos, and Imperial Order. Those are your I guess, your triple Floodgate. How did you figure to fit these in?
Well, I didn't. I just chucked them in, which is why I guess it's 44. I know people are going to bash me in the comments, but honestly, I deserve it. I was like, you know what? I'll just chuck these in. You have to play these. These are one of the main reasons you even play this deck, is because a lot of times they're auto-win. I call it the Trinity, because they're really auto-win if you go turn 1 against a lot of decks. D-Fissure is not great against Sky Striker and like Virtual World, but like against the other matchups, it's still pretty good. So, you know, when you have this on the board, your opponent can't play the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's always good to have.
I like your thought process on this for sure. Like, how so? I guess we'll go. Like, did this come up in your matchups at all?
Oh yeah, I was drawing them all day. I think that's part of the reason why I kept playing. It's just like macro. I think I played like Jesse Cotton in day 2, round 1, and I just had like macro, Imperial Order, and Imperm. I was like, well, I just set these, summon the guy, like Vespinato, and that was usually enough. Macro is obviously the busted one. Imperial Order, interesting thing. I see a lot of people playing this card wrong. They're flipping it on the first spell that your opponent activates. So like, I see a tanky activated, and then like someone activates Imperial Order. I don't think that's correct, unless your hand is so bad that you have to stop the tanky. It's always better to hold this for the spell that counts. Especially game 2 and 3, when they side in like Cosmic and Twin, they might try to play a spell to bait you out. If you chain Imperial Order and they chain Cosmic or Twin, well, you just lose. So you just hold this until that point where they're like, okay, you have 2 back row, probably strike. I'm going to Twin, target your 2 back row, then you chain Imperial Order, then that's just game, because it turns off all the spells.
More hand traps.
Yep, 3 Infirm, same thing, kind of like Baylor, you know, generic. Also the effect, just setting it and negating something, it comes up a lot. So it's a great handy little hand trap / trap.
Yeah. And you got a 6 package Solemn. You main deck these.
Solemn Brigade. Yeah, we're going first in this deck, by the way. We're not going second. I tried to go second one. It was not great. You protect Zeus with like Eagle Booster and stuff. It's just not ideal. These traps are amazing. Like, they're so clutch. Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike. They're just so powerful. So high impact. The most high impact traps. They're not bad going second either in this deck, because you play so many hand traps where you simplify the game state. You stop your opponent's cards. They leave some monsters on the board. You draw a card. You summon like your Zoo, make Zeus or whatever, and then you set the traps, and it's fine and dandy. So
okay, no,
traps are broken.
I like the tempo control, the flow control of the game. Like if you if you go second, you can try to pseudo make yourself back in a position where it feels like you went first. No, that's a great way to play control. Okay, now we're gonna take the time to make sure you guys go check out Squiddy's channel. You know, it's linked in the description, and you know that's my segue into the extra deck. So here we're gonna reveal the extra deck now. And looking at the extra deck, wow, this is very, very dark. Mainly black frame cards and one blue card. Triple Zeus. I'm not gonna question anything on this. This is your ending monster to maintain control.
Yep.
This is your reset button. You just want to reset it as much as possible until you win the game.
Exactly.
Okay, now we go into Joe Driver Vespinato. All right, go ahead.
So this is our new Drident, believe it or not, like it or not, which I actually love it because number one, it has 2,500 attack. How it works is you can overlay it over any rank 4 XYZ monster you control as material, and then during that turn, it cannot be used as XYZ material, but that's okay. We can make Zeus next turn. Turn one, we ideally want to get Ram in the grave, so we check 9 it back, and then we summon this, always in defense mode, by the way, usually, because what Sky Strikers can do is when they summon Ray, they can play around effect failure. They make Hayate, they go into battle phase, they crash into your attack position monster, send something, bring back Ray, and then tribute Ray for its effect to add back engage with Kagari. So that's why if you're playing against Unknown, let's just put these in defense mode so they can't do that. The other effect is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard when it's destroyed by your opponent's card or effect, which is great. So we have Vespinato and Ram on the field. That's like huge board presence. Your opponent, they have to get over it while you have hand traps, and then most of the time your monster survives because of the decks. This format are so grindy. They don't have a lot of extenders like Dragon Rulers back in the day, or last format Dragon Link. So you know it's very grindy, and this monster is just amazing, and it puts out a lot of damage, right? So I just play 2. I wanted to play 3 even, but I don't know what to cut.
It even pierces. Wow.
Yeah, it pierces too. I forgot about that.
Oh, so. Good for time.
Yeah, exactly. ZOODIAC Vespinato.
ZOODIAC,
2
right.
Vorbo. Yep. Same thing. It's very standard. I think 2 Vorbo, 3 Chak 9, 2 Tiger Mortar, and then 2 Hammer Kong. The idea for playing this is you can essentially make 2 Zeus with 4 materials, and then the last one with 2, if that makes sense. Because the way it, or 3 4 materials actually, if you have the Zoo and use Sorbelow. So.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, very standard. This monster is also interesting. ZOODIAC Hammer Kong, he has the effect where your opponent can only target it. So a lot of times you can make this so then they cannot Veiler if you have another monster surviving, or they cannot Truche or something along those lines. So it's cool, little interaction.
Right. And an awesome.
Yeah, randomly just chucked it in there because I was like, maybe people are playing Contact C. I think I only used it once to revive a Pankratops, but then that Pankratops was supposed to be banished, I think, off Whiptail, so we made some kind of misplay. I don't think it mattered, but I probably count this for another Vespinato, or maybe the F-Zero card.
Oh, yeah! But if you're going to make the F-Zero, you're going to have to cut another space for...
A Chakanine, probably, which hurts, but... I don't know. Maybe it's something you guys can all test out and let me know how's it goes in the comments there.
You definitely took away the question I was going to ask you, because I was going to ask you whether or not you want to play Utopic Draco Future into the deck. I mean, it's still you can still make it. It's not a turn 1 play per se, because you still need 2 Xyz monsters without Drident to pop off your own Ram. It's a lot harder. But once you get into like
feels bad.
Yeah, once you get into the second interaction, it's a really solid follow up too.
Yeah, and if you do the Vespinato play with Ram, like if your monster survives, then you could just make it. You check 9 back a Ram and you crash into one of their monsters, bring back an XYZ, and boom, you can make Zeus and Utopic Future. So seems pretty good.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay. And now we're gonna go into your side deck now. Let's reveal the side deck. All right, the sensor bar is gone. And wow, this is this is I didn't expect a couple of these hand traps. Okay, you did mention earlier that you're going to run a package of 3 crows, so the rest of the Murder of Crow is in here. A Murder of Crows.
Card is
a flock of crows.
It's insane.
And okay, the spiciest hand trap of them all.
Well, this hand trap is like bonkers. This is one of the reasons why this deck is good as well. It's the only deck that can play this hand trap. This hand trap stops every single deck in the format right now. It makes it pass their turn. But with this, you want to use it smart. Most of the time, you don't really want to shotgun it, because what happens if you do that is sometimes they pass and then you can't kill them. and then they can just do their same play and you're down a card, right? So a lot of times you kind of want to hold this and try to chain it. For example, if someone goes fractal, you chain this, that's a 1-for-1, and it ends their turn. It's huge. It is awkward though, sometimes when you have this in Ash, maybe you want to shotgun it, because if they go like Pot of Desires or something, you're stuck. It's like you can Ash, then you can't Shifter. You can Shifter, but you can't Ash, right? So it's kind of like you kind of got to think it through a little bit. But I only said this card going second as well, because when you go first, if you have this in, you can't do the rat combo, because if they have Veiler, then you can't Shifter. You can play Pot of Desires and chain this on top, but I'd rather just wait for my opponent to do something and then chain Shifter to that to catch them by surprise.
Makes sense. Got to capitalize on these things. Though. Sucks to draw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It does feel like a 6-card max C kind of deal.
Nibiru, I wasn't really impressed with this card, honestly. I think you probably need it, but it feels like every deck can just keep playing through it. Like a lot of the good players, like it's good against like Virtual World or whatever. The good players will just make the board and they'll be like, go. And you're like, okay, I guess I have to Nibiru. And then they're like, okay, I can keep playing combo. It's okay. Like sometimes they just can't play around it. It's okay against Drytron sometimes, but if their hand is powerful, it's like,
it's still gonna get negated. I get that.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
know
this card here, Shared Ride. I think it wasn't talked about enough in terms of like a wide sense in terms of the community, but it definitely is, I would say, one of the best interactive cards we have.
Yeah, I honestly did not even test this card. I chucked it in there because I was like, based on this theory, here's the theory. You want to play chainable cards, because everyone's playing Twin Twisters and, you know, like getting your strikes and stuff blown up, it feels bad. So these cards are chainable, and they're chainable to effects, and they replace themselves. So like when someone goes like Tenki or whatever, you chain this, you draw a card, and it locks them under the blanket, where if they add anything, right? Especially against Drytron, that matchup is different, whereby you don't really want to gain 1-for-1 and simplify the game state, just because the cards snowball so much that you can't afford to do that. Instead, in that matchup, I like to say what's called playing Magic the Gathering, because for those that have played Magic, it's more like turn. They're like, oh yeah, I'll kill you on turn 3, turn 2. Like the turns matter. It's more tempo based. So this card against Drytron, it makes them pass their turn, which is great for us, because we can do another 3K with Zeus, right? We go 2K with Vesminato. We make Vesminato set, Shared Ride. They go like Thubin or something. We chain Shared Ride, draw a card. They skip their turn. And now I just summon another Vesminato, attack for 5K, make a Zeus. Next turn, they're dead, right? So, yeah, it's also good against Sky Striker, you know, just 1-for-1 chainable that puts a blanket on them, makes it so they cannot use their effects.
Okay. Kind of on that question of Drytron, like what if they go in? How many cards are you actually getting from them?
I don't know. I don't think anyone has gone in. I've only used it twice in the tournament, and then people just passed. So I mean, I assume because this deck plays so many hand traps, I'm going to draw a bunch of hand traps, a bunch of Veilers, Crows, maybe Nibiru.
I guess they won't win anymore. I guess they're under max C at this point.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
All right. Then you have the DDG.
DDG. It's basically Dimension Shifter going first. Same kind of concept as Shared Ride as well. It's chainable. It puts a blanket so they can't do anything on their turn. Against Drytron, same thing. They pass their turn. We do damage. We set another DGG, another Shared Ride, anything else to make them pass their turn, or a bunch of traps. Because they're so low on HP, they're like, okay, I have to do something now. And then they try to play, and you have traps. So same thing. Skip their turn.
And the rest of the cards here, we have Duster and Red Reboot. These are the back row hate.
Broken back row cards. Like, oh, it's just, you know, you go second, play Harpy's Duster, have Red Reboot or whatever, make a Zeus, clear the board.
This is Denko Seka, the counter
exactly.
trap.
Yes, it should be banned, honestly. People use it against me too in this tournament, and I also lost whenever they did.
It is a very brutal card, for sure. All right, so that's the rundown. Now, we're going to go into your round to round. All right, time for the juicy bits of the video. It's your round to round, and this is where you kind of learn the strategy of handling different specific scenarios that come up. And so you went 9-2-0. So
I know.
Let's go through your rounds here. Round 1, you played against Mutant. And
He's a nice guy. I think it's a quick 2-0, but Mutant cards are interesting. Read them if you haven't already. That was my first time.
All right. Round 2, you fought against Sky Striker.
Yep, it's not the greatest matchup. Interesting in this matchup, Zeus doesn't really do anything, so you just make a bunch of monsters and try to attack and beat them.
You 2-1 the matchup, so you still took it home.
Yep.
Round,
got engaged like 5 times.
but it's okay. You made it. You made it through. You made it out alive. Round 3, you played against Tri-Brigade. Now, how'd that one go?
Oh, it was a great matchup. Tri-Brigade for this deck, I was hoping I played it all day because it's such a good matchup because they only have the 2 plays with like Harass and the normal summon. So you hand trap them, simplify the game state, stick a Zeus, and that's usually just game. They have no interaction. So
this is your what do you think the odds are in terms of in your favor?
Oh, definitely probably like 70-30 for the pure Z deck. Like even going second, like you just set traps, you stun them, and then you just keep beating down with Zeus, and you stick with Zeus, you win.
All right. Oh, you did 2-0 it. Now round 4, Layer of Darkness. Is this your friend you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, it's my friend Julian. He's from the Bahamas actually. There's a nice community of duelists from Bahamas that play, and I've been hanging out with them in the remote duels. And his deck was awesome. It was Layer of Darkness. He was 7-1 after day 1, but then his internet crapped out on day 2, or else he probably would have made top cups as well. And he was my tiebreaker. But he played like 3 Red Eyes Fusion, Pot of Extravagance. He made like Dragoon. He played like Summon Limit and Skill Drain and these traps. And of course the Layer of Darkness package. And none of my hand traps did anything.
So there's Diablos in there.
Yes, Diablos. And the one, what's that guy? The guy with the horns, the Beast. That's also in the Slifer deck.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's some next level spice. I bet someone's gonna like try to find him, try to get that profile out. I mean, once 7-1 day 1, that one is on its own is a major feat.
I lost to the Layer of Darkness, but I beat the Cyber Dragon. So the Cyber Dragon was a nice guy from Vancouver. Actually, I didn't even know until after the match, but it's actually not a good matchup. Zeus and Vespernato are both machines, but I just kept Zeusing the Cyber Dragon and Baylor the ones. Machine?
I thought it was an
yeah,
insect.
So I thought so too, but when he contacted it, I was like, oh, it's a machine. Dope.
Okay. I didn't expect that. Okay, round 6, it's Tri-Brigade. You 2-0'd him. I'm guessing it's part of your game plan.
Yeah, the Tri-Brigade matchup is so good. Oh, I so wish I made the top cut. I felt like I could have gone deep because there's so many Tri-Brigade in the top cut, but hey, what can you do?
I think you could have won as long as you gotten all the way through. Then you had Amazement Eldritch. Wow.
Yeah, it was a nice guy from Mexico, actually. He's playing Amazement with Eldritch. So I had to read all the Amazement cards because I had no idea what they did. There's one that's like multi-faker, which is interesting.
Oh, yeah, the boss. The boss is like multi-faker.
Yes. And he pops cards, but it's such a grindy matchup. I barely squeaked it out. All my matches were really close because this deck, by nature, it's just so grindy and close, but that one was also very close.
Did you ever go into time?
Only once.
Okay.
Against Jesse Cotton in day 2. Surprisingly.
And the final round of day 1, Virtual World.
Yep.
What happened there?
Got destroyed 0-2, like fast. Game 1, I made a terrible misplay. He's normal. I think he tried to use one of the names in hand, and I used Zeus. Or no, I used the Ash in my hand, but then he normal summoned and had another name, so I had to use Zeus. So effectively, I burned 2 interacts when I should have just used Zeus. If that makes sense, and held the Ash. And then game 2, there's a trap card in their deck called Shanwu that has an on-field effect that changes the battle position of your monster. I had no idea.
As long as he, I believe he has the control of the gate at the same time.
Yeah, so he had Chuche and that. I went to summon Borbo attack, and he's like, change it to defense. I was like, okay, I guess I cannot make Zeus. Just die the next turn.
Oh, okay. So, wow. Okay, did not expect that. Okay,
so,
well,
the more you know.
So you finished day 1 with a X2 record, and now we move on to day 2. You made you definitely made the cut because all the X2s made the cut because you could be X2-1. Unfortunately, X2-1, you were already bubbled up, but they just let you play anyway at that point.
I was like, I don't know why they let them play. I felt bad for those guys, but
yeah, they just spend the whole day just not getting anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It was really dependent on the guys up top, but yeah, it's crazy. Round 9, you played against the big name Jesse.
Yeah, I shouldn't have won that game. It was crazy. Game 1, I won with the Floodgates, like a very order macro. Game 2, I remember making a terrible misplay because once they get Natasha, the game's over. So against them, you just want to play the tempo game. You should be ashing and like preventing anything that can search Natasha. So like Alpha Thuban, preparation of rights, you should be just ashing or like striking the Thuban. Just don't let them get Natasha because once they do, they're going to take your Zeus. That's game. I learned the hard way.
Yeah. And then how'd you take the match?
So in game 3, it was in time. We had 20 minutes starting, but we didn't know. both of us didn't check the time. I had like 2 cards. He had like 5 in hand. He was gonna win. And then he summoned Natasha and then gained 500 because, you know, just like going through the motions. And he's trying to go for game, and then time was called, and we were both surprised. And then because he had already used Natasha and the spell engrave, he could not make Natasha back and gain the 2,000 life points that was needed to make the deficit. So it was unfortunate, but
so that's when you popped his bubble.
Yeah.
And then round 10, Prankits.
Yeah, there's also another Canadian, super nice guy actually. Barely won that one, super close as well. Battle Butler just ends your day, so don't let them get the Battle Butler.
All right, and then round 11 is a Drytron. I think, is that your only Dry? No, that's your second Drytron matchup.
Second Drytron, yes, also super close. Oh, I made a terrible misplay as well. Boral Sword, they can change your monster to defense mode in your battle phase, so you should know that. I learned the hard way last game on. And then game 2, I just had a bunch of floodgates. Same thing with game 3, D-shifter, summon the guys, just keep attacking.
That turn skip is really important, I think. Here.
Exactly, because you get 2,500 plus 25 next turn, so they have to win on the next turn or you win.
I like the math here. 25, 25, 3,000, and it's just a really clean game.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you finished 40th. You know, there was a lot of people that just could not get through. I mean, there was a lot of X2s that did not. I think it
went to 47. That's 15 people that did not make it, which is nuts. Usually it's like 1 or 2, but
this time around, way more. Way more.
Next time though.
That was 11 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh. And
yeah,
that was insane. I hope you had fun playing the event.
Oh, I definitely did. Honestly, glad to sort of be back. You know, definitely gonna hit up those IRL events when they come back and just chill and hang out.
I think that's what everyone's hoping for. The next big YCS. We all hope for that. All right, Chansey, thank you so much for sharing with us your deck profile, how to play this deck, you know, all the intricacies. Really appreciate it, and your round to round. So if you guys haven't done so already, go check out Chansey's channel down in the description. Give him a subscription. You know, tell him Tom Box.
Give me a dislike on my videos. I'm trying to get as many dislikes. I'll leave a dislike.
Just for them leaving a like. You know, can't tell me what to do. All right, thank you so much, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash a thumbs up. This is one of the profiles that I've been really looking forward to actually getting, because pure zoo, no Drident. I think that's the title card right there. Sells itself. This is a day 2 0 Drident pure zoo. What is this? So thank you so much. And
yeah, thank you for having me.
Don't forget to hit subscribe, ding notification bell. Check out MSTmerch.com for awesome sleeves. By the way, guys, orange sleeves. I finally got my sample. I didn't get the sample. I've seen the sample. It's coming very soon, and hopefully that will be on the store, you know, just in time for you real life events. Hopefully. And don't worry, Chansey. If I see you, I'll give you a pack.
Yay! I love orange.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. And I'll see you guys in the next one.